Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today is going to be another episode of the Championship Roundup, guys. So in today's video we have a whole lot of action to go ahead and discuss over the weekend in the Championship, guys. And we actually have a game going on tonight as well. That is of course the derby going on between Birmingham and Wolves. So we'll have a bit of discussion towards that towards the end of the video. But for the majority of this video, guys, we're going to be rounding up all the action that did take place over the weekend. So of course I am very interested to hear as to what you guys did make of your team's performance. Let me know down below. And as well as that, let me know down below, what do you think was the goal of the weekend and what did you think was the result of the weekend? I'll be revealing what I thought they were towards the end of the video, but we had some pretty mental games in this one here today. As well as that, guys, make sure you do subscribe for regular Championship content and make sure you do leave a like if you do go ahead and enjoy the video. But just before we do get into any of the analysis, guys, I will include your guys' comments on screen now. So if any of you guys did successfully manage to get any of your score predictions correct, I will include your comment on screen now. So fair play to everyone who did get a score prediction correct this weekend. This weekend I managed to get one of mine correct. That was the derby against Burton Albion game, which did finish 1-0, so that's not bad going from me. But without further ado, guys, let's get into some of the games. So our first game to go ahead and discuss was the first game taking place on Friday night between Cardiff City and Norwich, and in the end it was a 3-1 home victory for Cardiff, and this really was a classic game of two halves. In the first half, Cardiff were really far off the tempo, and considering they are currently unbeaten at home this season, something that I wasn't really expecting, you know, Norwich came out the blocks a lot faster than Cardiff did and were the better side in the first half, and they were probably made to regret not scoring more than one goal in that half. You know, it was Stiepermann who had the only goal of the first half, a fantastic driving effort from outside the box. But Norwich, they didn't look too bad in the first half. They created a couple chances, maybe should have scored another one. But in the second half then, Cardiff did make two changes at half time, bringing on both Omar Bogle and Lee Tomlin, and they, in my opinion, completely changed the game. You know, in the first half, Cardiff looked so lethargic going forward, and they were just a really bland performance in the first half. You could see that Neil Warnock would have then had some stern words with him at half time, because in the second half they were really pouring more men forward and were looking a lot better going forward, really. Norwich, I think, would have been very disappointed with that. In the second half they just completely seemed to fall apart, really. You know, as soon as Cardiff managed to get that first goal back, you could see the confidence just drain out of these Norwich players. And so really, Norwich fans, I'm interested to hear about what your current stance is on Daniel Farke, your manager. Let me know down below. And Cardiff, they just won't go away at the top of the table, only 1 point behind Wolves. The next game was the second game on Friday night between Leeds United and Aston Villa, and in the end this one did finish as a 1-1 draw. So really this was a big opportunity for either of these two sides to go ahead and put down a statement of intent for the rest of the season, but in fairness to them, they did cancel each other out in the end. And in the first half I thought that Leeds were by far the better team, really, and they took a deserved lead into half time through a goal from Pontus Jansson. And in the second half I thought Aston Villa did improve, especially when Jack Grealish and Henry Lansbury came on for Aston Villa. They gave them much more impetus going forward, and then they were causing Leeds a few more problems going forward. And then of course it was then Henry Lansbury who did manage to grab the equaliser for Aston Villa. And after that, Leeds had quite a lot of the ball in this one, but they couldn't really fashion too many clear-cut chances. I believe they only had one shot on target in the entire game, which was something they would like to improve on after all. But in the end, 1-1. What do you guys think? And our next game saw Bolton go ahead and claim a massive 3-1 victory over Barnsley, and now Bolton have managed to climb out of the bottom three for the time being, so fair play to them. And Barnsley in this one I thought would have been very disappointed. You know, their defending at times was really slack to go ahead and let Bolton in on goal, and then going forward especially, it wasn't the lack of creating chances in this one. You know, they had a pretty hefty few chances in this one, they just couldn't finish any of them, and so that's something that Barnsley are really going to have to work on. You know, lately they've really been filtering down the Championship. I think that's now 4 defeats in a row. So really Barnsley on a great run of form at the moment, and you can see that with that lack of confidence really running throughout that Barnsley side. But in fairness to Bolton, they did cause this Barnsley side some problems. You know, Gary Medine bagging 2 goals in this one, and then it was Little who scored an excellent solo effort on the 69th minute to grab a good victory for Bolton. And our next game saw a London derby go ahead and end 3-1 to the home side as Brentford went ahead and grabbed all 3 points in this one. But I think in fairness, it probably was Fulham who were the brighter side to start out in this match. They managed to grab the lead through Cabano in the 25th minute, but it didn't take Brentford long to respond, with Sergi Canos scoring a bit of an odd goal really on the 33rd minute. And I thought the Fulham keeper David Burton would have been a little bit disappointed to be beaten at his near post like that. But then going into the second half, the game did sort of flip on its head, of course. Brentford managed to take the lead through Sawyers from a nice goal from him, and then after that, Fulham then went down to 10 men, and it's always a bit of an odd situation when something like this does happen, because Fulham were going down to 10 men, but they were already losing the match, so it's not like they could have, you know, sat behind the ball and looked to grind out a point. They still had to chase the game, so they were still putting a few plays forward, and in fairness to them, they did have a couple chances. I think Tom Kearney hit the crossbar, and they had 1 or 2 efforts that were saved by Daniel Bentley, but in the end, it was Brentford who were the better side in this one, you know, by quite far actually. And they managed to wrap up the game with a fantastically worked goal from Ollie Watkins in the 85th minute. And at times in this match, Brentford were playing some fantastic football, and Fulham defensively, they were all over the place for some of these goals. I think that's fair to say. But in the end, a very nice London derby victory for Brentford. Fulham, though, not looking brilliant after that one. And our next game saw Burton Albion slip to the bottom of the Championship with a 1-0 away defeat at Derby County. Now, in this one, it did actually go towards a similar plan than what I was saying in my prediction video, actually. Burton Albion, for large majorities of this game, really were looking quite resilient at the back and looking to frustrate Derby for large amounts of the game. And in fairness to Burton, you know, that tactic seemed to be working, and they almost went ahead and grabbed their goal through Ben Turner. And if it wasn't for, I think it was Vyman who cleared it off the line, then this may have been a completely different game. But it did take Derby until the 81st minute to get the winner in this one, and I did feel a little bit bad for Burton because it was a mistake on their part which actually led to the goal. It was a player who took a bad touch inside the box that then just fell to Johnny Russell, and he rocketed it into the back of the net. So a big victory that for Derby. They of course needed to get back to winning ways in this one, and they successfully managed to do that. Burton fans, are you a little bit worried about the rest of the season? Let me know down below. And then our next game was a pretty mental game at Portman Road as Ipswich managed to go ahead and beat Forest by 4 goals to 2, and this was just a really funny game in the end. And so Ipswich's star man in this one it had to be Martin Waghorn. What a performance he had in this one. He was just non-stop working in this one and managed to get an assist, I think, in this one, and grabbed a goal for himself as well. He was just absolutely everywhere in this game and really was causing that Forest defence a whole lot of problems. I mean, the last 2 goals that Ipswich scored in this one, the Forest defending was just absolutely shambolic, and it really is something that Forest need to iron out of their game, because going forward they weren't looking too bad in this one, you know. The goal from Kieran Dowell especially, it was a set piece that was worked very well from a free kick. He managed to bend that into the back of the net. A good goal from him, but Forest are just, they are the masters of their own undoing really, and fair play to Ipswich Town. They managed to go ahead and capitalise on all of the chances that they got in this one with a pretty convincing 4-2 victory. Then on the next game saw Millwall go ahead and grab a fantastic 3-1 home victory over Sheffield United, and what a performance this was from Millwall in this one. They were brilliant going forward and really weren't letting up with the pressure they were applying on Sheffield United. And in terms of Sheffield United in this one, from my understanding really, I think this was their worst performance of the season, you know, and I think they're without a win now in their last 3, and they're starting to slip away from that top 2 of the Championship. But really really for large majorities of it, they were so limp in this one and were really playing without purpose and without that same intensity that we've come to expect from Sheff United so far this season. So I think they were bound to go on a bit of a blip at some point. You know, there was no way that they could have sustained how well they were playing at that point in time in the season a couple of weeks ago. And of course, they've had a couple of injuries and stuff like that to contend with, but that's not taking anything away from Millwall in this one. They were absolutely fantastic, and Sheff United just couldn't deal with them, with the pressure they were applying to them. And obviously, it's that direct style that we expect from Millwall, but fair play to them. A fantastic 3-1 victory. Then our next game was between my club Preston North End and QPR, and in the end, it was a slim 1-0 home victory for Preston. And I've got to say, this was probably one of the most frustrating games I've watched in a long time. And the game started out as a pretty good game, to be fair. You know, up until QPR got their first red card for Mackie, it was an end-to-end game, and I thought, you know what, we may be in for some decent football in this one. But as soon as QPR went down to 10 men, it was clear to see what their game plan was. You know, they put 2 banks of 4 up and just looked to grind out that away point. Of course, QPR still without a win away this season, but and to be fair to them, it was working. You know, Preston were getting frustrated in this one. We were having chance after chance, we just couldn't put anything away, and QPR were defending quite well in this one. I think that has to be said. But then it took Preston until the 88th minute when finally we managed to get a break, and Jordan Hugill managed to slot the ball under Alex Smithies to give Preston all 3 points in this one. And I thought it was a deserved victory for Preston. You know, we were clearly the side who was pouring all the men forward and looking for the winner in this one, but a little bit harsh on QPR as they had defended relatively well throughout the game. And then Alex Baptiste actually got sent off after the final whistle for, I think, something he said to the referee. So not the best day for QPR, but I'll take the 3 points for sure. And our next game was quite a dramatic one, actually, between Sheffield Wednesday and Hull City, which did finish as a 2-2 draw in the end. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought Hull City had gone ahead and bottled it yet again, but in the end they managed to go ahead and be the side which grabbed a dramatic late equaliser in the 95th minute through Dawson. Hull had the lead through a goal from Fraser Campbell early on in this one, and we're looking alright going forward. But Sheffield Wednesday then, in fairness to them, did manage to turn it around with 2 goals from Gary Hooper. I believe they also had a penalty appeal which was turned down by the referee as well. But in the 95th minute, in the dying stages of this game, it was Dawson who got the goal back for them. Now, when I'm recording this video, nothing's been announced or anything like that, but it is looking increasingly likely that Slutsky, the Hull City manager, will be leaving sooner rather than later. And when you guys will be watching this, he may have already left. But the future at the moment isn't looking brilliant for Hull. I'm not going to lie about that. You know, had they lost this, they'd have been in an even worse situation. But at this point in time, they're currently only 3 points away from the relegation zone. So I'll be very interested to hear from Hull fans as to what do you think can happen with the rest of this season, because at the moment, relegation, it is looking like a real possibility. But in fair, Sheffield Wednesday in this one, I mean, more frustration for them to concede the last minute goal. But things at the moment for them, their season's not been great either. And our next game saw another struggling side in the Championship in Sunderland go ahead and lose by 3-1 to Reading, of course. This was Chris Coleman's first home game in charge of Sunderland, and I think it's fair to say this one really didn't go to plan for him. In the first half, nothing really happened apart from the red card to McManaman. He got the red card for handling the ball into the net, and really that flipped the game on its head for the second half, really. Reading absolutely dominated it, and the Sunderland couldn't really get a grasp on it after they were playing with 10 men, you know. You're always going to struggle with 10 men, especially when you're playing like a possession-based team like Reading, and they just managed to completely dismantle that Sunderland defence in the second half. And even with 10 men, some of the Sunderland defending was just awful at times. You know, the ease that Reading were scoring, you know, the 2 Barrow goals especially, the Reading defenders were just, the Sunderland defenders, sorry, were just so static inside the box that space Reading could just easily pick up on. So in the end, it was a very comfortable victory for Reading actually, and Sunderland, that home win still eludes them. And then our final game to go ahead and talk over was between Bristol City and Middlesbrough, where in the end it was the home side who managed to go ahead and pick up a deserved 2-1 home victory over Middlesbrough. And so in the first half, Bristol City were a little bit frustrated not to have taken the lead. They had a couple of chances in that half, but in the second half they really managed to do the damage from two quick-fire goals actually from both Byron and Patterson. Managed to put Middlesbrough to bed in this one really. And talking over the Middlesbrough performance in this one, they were really below par in this one. And Middlesbrough, I'd be very interested to hear what your current stance is on your manager Gary Monk actually, because a lot of money was invested into this squad in the summer, and I think it was understandable early on in the season when Middlesbrough weren't getting the results or weren't putting in the right performances, because you could say, you know what, this squad deserves the chance to gel together and start figuring out a philosophy for how they want to go about playing. But I mean, we're in December now and we're still not seeing that from Middlesbrough, so I think that serious questions do need to be asked of the people, both the players and management staff at Middlesbrough at the moment, because it's really not good enough. But that's not taking anything away from Bristol City. They were by far the better side in this one, and they've now gone up to 3rd in the Championship. So now guys, in terms of my results of the weekend, there are a lot of contenders for this one, so I'm interested to hear your guys' opinions on this one. But for me personally, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Millwall for getting that fantastic victory over Sheffield United, of course. Two sides which were more or less at opposite ends of the table for this one, and Millwall, sorry, just managed to get that completely convincing 3-1 victory. And then in terms of my goal of the weekend, now it wasn't the best performance from Forest in the weekend, but Kieran Dowell scored an absolute worldie for them, so my goal of the weekend is going to go to Kieran Dowell against Ipswich. So there you guys have it, that will now wrap it up for this episode of the Championship Roundup. So like I said at the start of the video guys, we do have a game going on tonight in the Championship, Birmingham against Wolves. Let me know your predictions on that one in the comments down below, and if you are watching this after that game has taken place, what do you make of it? Let me know down below. I'm predicting, I'm going to say a 3-1 Wolves victory. I've got to say that I think that their quality going forward will just cause that Birmingham defence too many problems, so that's what I'm saying for that one. But apart from that guys, that will now wrap it up for this video. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you check out all the other links in the description down below, and make sure you subscribe for regular Championship content. But apart from that guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.